Hi guys, welcome back to yet another podcast in cars. As we can see, my car is not only down this time, but dead, hence why the boot is open, because my battery was completely fraught. Anyway, let's just jump into today's episode, because it's not even worth going into that. Okay. So, in today's video, I wanted to discuss, are motorsports technically like a pay-to-win? Some of you may remember a while ago now, I went to that race day at Swartkorpies. I'd made a whole video about it, and it was a big race day. There was a bunch of cool race cars. My car was actually on show there, and so on and so forth, alongside a lot of my friends' cars and stuff. But Chad was racing in the one GR86, the one that actually stepped out and drifted on that last lap. No, we'll never let him live that down, but yeah. For those of you who don't know, Chad also owns an NA Miata. His is a fancier one, a 1.8, and he's got like a lot of fancy, very pretty pieces on, and he's currently turbocharging it as well. Very fancy. Yeah. But I was chatting to him because getting into racing, I suppose for most car guys, is obviously like a dream. If you can afford to do it, you'd love to obviously get behind the wheel, go get track time, go do this, go do that. And I was Google searching and looking into it because obviously it is a very appealing thing to me, and I would have loved to be able to get into it. And I also ended up chatting to him to see how he got into it, because obviously he was racing the 86, and he said just one of the perks of being a automotive journalist is that on the very odd occasion you get this kind of opportunity, and if you work really hard, you know, it goes somewhere. For example, this point where he got to drive the I think he got to drive the GR Yaris as well, and the GR Corolla, but I know you got to drive the GR86 for a fair bit, and he did a complete review on it on track as well, if I remember correctly. And what he was saying to me is basically Toyota approached them when the GR86 was coming out. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Toyota approached them and said, okay, well, I should explain, them is Auto Trader in this example, and said, okay, for the set amount of journalists, you know, we're going to do a couple, so, you know, whoever we like the most because of something, work ethic or attitude or whatever, I don't know, then they get an opportunity, and then between them they all race to see who wins. I don't know what they win, but my point. Anyway, so he was telling me he just got like really lucky that he managed to get into one of the 86s and then got to race it. Otherwise, to get into racing, he was saying, it's, even if you're a multi-millionaire or if you're a cheap Joe like me, it is all of your money. That is what getting into motorsports costs. All of your money. Of which I kind of agree, because I mean, I don't race very often, but I've been attempting to get into it because it is apparently one of the best starter ways to get into it. Is I join a fair amount of autocross days when I can. Obviously the autocross has recently vaporated into the cosmos. It is no longer here. So oh gosh, why is my door so dirty? So I don't really do it much anymore, but you know, the all autocross days and stuff I used to join a lot, and I suppose I could join the race days at Swartkorpies and Midval and so on and so forth, but anyway, that's apparently like one of the cheapest ways to get into it, but it is still, even then, I mean, if anyone has watched any of my track prep videos, it's check your tire pressure. Are your tires actually in good enough condition to race? While you're racing, a rock might puncture your tire. So there's, I don't know what tires cost these days because I bought mine ages ago, but I think I paid about $1,000. It's probably about $1.50 now for tires. Have you got that just lying around for one tire? You know what I mean? It's a lot of money. And then your petrol cost. And then for me, the last time I went, oil cost. For some reason, my oil, my tapper cover gasket was just leaking so much oil. So I lost a fair bit of oil and I had to continuously top up with extra oil. And then the power steering oil was also an issue because my little thing broke. So the cap doesn't hold down anymore. There's lots and lots of things to watch out for and stuff. And especially with when you start playing with modified cars. So yeah, it does start to become a bit of an expensive game to look into and to get into and to do and so on and so forth. And I think especially because whilst we're at that Wild Copies Day, I should also mention, I was speaking to a guy that also usually has a car and he races at those Wild Copies Days. And he was saying to me, pretty much the exact same story. It is exceptionally expensive to race. However, there are loopholes within it. For example, what he was explaining to me and what he does is you basically go through a club. If I'm understanding this correctly, please somebody feel free to correct me in the comments if I am wrong. But from what I was understanding, this is kind of what he was saying. If you belong to a club, the club will buy the car. And then it's the club's car. Now, you get to race that car pretty much whenever you want. And if anything goes wrong, the fuel, the tires, maybe something mechanical, it's on you to fix it. Clutch, for example. It's on you to fix it and it's at your cost. But at least you don't physically pay for the car, which kind of evens out the costing. Although then your membership fee kind of, I suppose, eventually pays off the car. That's what I would like to see. Like, eventually, if you've been a member for long enough and they've bought your car for you, then, you get your car back. But then you kind of have to start from base zero again in the membership. I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% familiar with how it works. It was a while ago that I discussed this, and I haven't really thought about it since, so I can't really comment. But all I do remember is that it's exceptionally expensive to end up doing, and it's not, obviously being a fully done race car, there's a whole bunch of things that come with it. For example, I know he was telling us, no, he races an NA Miata like mine, but all they do is, I think you can gut the interior and put like race seats in it and stuff, but you're not allowed to do any performance mods. Everything has to basically be stock in terms of power and power delivery, so your gearbox and diff as well, if I'm correct. But I know definitely power wise you can't do anything. It has to be stock power, so stock engine. And to me that kind of defeats the point, because then I'd have to now enter my car in a modified class. I enjoy my daily driverness of, a full interior, not gutted, and it's got a nice radio and stuff, even though it does, technically speaking, add weight, or has extra weight compared to a gutted car. But that's where I have issue. Which then kind of comes into the fact of, okay, well, if you want to enter the modified class, so you want the turbocharger and you want to do this and you want it set up as such, then you have to buy a second car altogether to do it. And I don't know, then it really does start to become like a pay to win situation on, if you have the money, of course you're going to win. For example, the unlimited class, which was those really big, like kitted up GT cars that we were watching race at that Wild Copies Day. There were Lambos and Audi R8s and stuff there with like over 1,000 horsepower. Easy. And my meaning is, how much money do you need that you buy a GT3 kit car, I think it's legitimately from those companies, of a Porsche 911, of a Audi R8, of a Lamborghini Huracan or Gallardo. It's a lot of money, even just for the race cars, and it's legit engines and stuff that are going in there as well. Don't think that they've just put a V8 from an LS or something You know, it's not. They got Lambo V10s. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And yeah, that's what I don't know. It starts to very much land up being in that situation, because if I was to enter now, like my car, even if I was happy enough to like gut my car, you know, make it full race car and so on and so forth, I'd have to enter in the modified class as far as I'm aware. So it's modified. No, actually, no, correction. I know it's kind of similar to Forza, where depending on grip level slash horsepower, you move up a class, as well as also driver experience. You can move up a class. I know the previous Wild Copies Day that I went to go watch, before this one, we went to go watch Tony, who has a Acura ASX, if I'm correct, I'm saying that right. And that car is a little four banger, naturally aspirated, but it's on semi slicks, and Tony's an incredible driver, and he was then riding in the unlimited, like, proper race car class with the Lambos with the big V10s, and he was fucking keeping up with them. So, my meaning. But what I'd land up doing is I'd be exceptionally underclassed for the class that I want to enter. I'd basically be at the very bottom of their class, which, if anyone has played Forza and knows this whole thing, you kind of don't want to be there, because that's the weakest point then that you could be. Unless you're absolutely fucking phenomenal, and then you can just whoop everyone. But I'm not that kind of driver. I need to get a lot more seat time. And I'd probably have to rely on the car for a fair bit. And even with how I've built the car and stuff, I don't, considering the fact that I'm going up against people that actually know how to drive, I'd land up being smoked. Because my only benefit that I have now, when I'm playing on the streets and stuff, is I can rely a lot on the car to do a lot of the work, in terms of handling. But because I know my car exceptionally well, I can drive very, I want to say neatly. I can drive not to the edge, because you never do that on the street, but you can drive reasonably rugged, if you will, and it's all fine. But I could not do that on a track. I need far more experience. I'm terrified at taking sharpish corners at anything over 100. So, like, you know, you'd be pushing almost 160 around some of those corners. So, and then again, this is where I start to relate to, this is kind of like a pay to win situation, because that's, you know, then I'd either have to throw more horsepower at my car, so I could continue to have it all interior nice, and then I could daily drive it still, but then it won't be nice to daily drive because more horsepower. I suppose it depends on the setup, but you guys get my meaning. Or I'd have to gut it so that it'll be a little bit faster. I'd have to put semi-slicks on, which means I'd have to upgrade my diff again, and my gearbox, because the gearbox won't handle it. I have to do a water meth injection, because, yeah, I want to do that anyway, because I might want to join 1 or 2 track days so I can get a little bit of experience. So I want to do a water meth system anyway, but it's so much money. And then on top of that, even if I were to go through all of that, the amounts of money that you have to throw at it afterwards, even if you keep it as a dedicated track car, don't even daily drive it, the amount of money that you still have to throw at it afterwards. So, you know, tech increases. You need a better roll cage, you need better harnesses, you need better seats. Maybe they don't like my steering wheel, although it is a genuine Momo, so it doesn't flex or anything like that. It's got a little bit of flex at the top because it hasn't got a thing, but yeah. You know, they might not like 1 or 2 items, and then, or maybe my car's got a tiny little oil leak, and then you have to pull the entire engine to fix that little oil leak, because you're not allowed oil leaks on track. And it ends up just being an endless story of, you continuously have to rebuild the engine, rebuild the gearbox, do this, money. And it really does land up ultimately becoming, can you afford it? Yes or no? And the answer is always no, but, you know, you get extreme no, or no, not really, but maybe. So, my point. Because there's a guy that was racing in that unlimited class on the last day that I joined at Swap Copies. Or the last time I joined, sorry. And he has a Lotus that he's kitted up and stuff. And it's got number plates. It's street legal. Technically speaking, it's street legal. And it's got like a V8 swap in it. And it's big aero and stuff. And I think he got like 7th or something. He did very well. In a street legal car, but I mean it is a gutted race car on the inside and stuff. There's no nice luxuries and stuff. It just happens to have number plates is what we mean. But I can guarantee, the amount that probably started as a street car, similar situation to me. He was enjoying it, so okay, maybe lighter door cards. Take out the motors and put just little windies. Put a roll bar, a half cage in it. Put better suspension. Put a bit more horsepower. Engine swapper. And then eventually it just became a gutted race car. Because I'm not really interested in doing that. I very much still want a drivable car, and I think that's where there's issues, if that makes sense. Because it just means that I'd have to continuously upgrade my car's horsepower or elsewhere, in order for me to then keep up. But then because I'm doing that, then it might put me in the next class, which then makes life more difficult again, and then I have to do the whole story again. It basically results in eventually you're going to land up with a gutted race car, of which then you may as well buy another car to go do that all too. Look, honestly, if I had more money, I legitimately would. I would go buy a whatever. I don't know. I'd go find I don't know, something that's bots registered or something, I guess, so it's nice and cheap. And you just go boost it, whatever, and then as long as it's tech ready, you can race it. So. But that's a lot of money. And I still haven't got that kind of money. I barely have enough money to fix my gearbox. When is that going to happen, by the way? I still don't know. I'm waiting on Callum to tell me. Last I heard is he said basically this week, Thursday or Friday, or next week, Monday, is when I should be able to bring my car. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Do you feel motorsports is a pay to win? Look, not necessarily to win. I mean, there is obviously bribery within, so that people win. But I still feel like, the teams. I mean, if you look at F1, for example, the teams that can just throw more money at the situation, those are the teams that win. You got your 3 main big teams, and those are the 3 main big teams that win because they've got the money that they can throw at the whole situation. And that's where... Sorry, Milning. That's where I feel it really starts to... I don't know, just be pay to win and bias and so on and so forth. Because it's always, as what I was told, even climbing onto the street in the street game, if you will, of modified cars, there's always going to be a bigger fish. And I feel like that intensely applies at a racetrack, where there's always going to be a guy that just has way more money than you to throw at the same, if not a better project. And then it really does just boil down to, he's got more money, of course he's going to win. Even if he's not necessarily more skilled. Skill can only make up for so much horsepower. You know what I mean? Even if you're an exceptional driver, you're Takumi, you still cannot, you can't make up for like an additional 500 horsepower. If not even less than that, maybe even an additional 200 horsepower. You can't. Depends on the track, I suppose. I mean, yeah. And especially, again, reconsidering, because, I mean, I've had stock Miatas beat this on autocross, turbocharged and stuff, my car now. And they were naturally aspirated same exact setup as me, if not actually worse, because mine still got the special edition springs and shit in it. And no, no, they still, that's an exceptionally good driver. He can make up for the horsepower loss. Again, though, being on an autocross track, horsepower means very little, because it's more so just about that darting. And yes, I may have slightly better acceleration in first, but if he just gets the corners this much better than me, he's on par. So, oh gosh. Whilst on an actual racetrack where there's more swooping corners and stuff, I doubt it. I doubt it to the nth degree. There's, like I said, there's only so much the horsepower can do. I'm sure that a very well experienced driver, okay, no, let me clear that up. A good driver could probably beat me. I'm useless in a naturally aspirated Miata versus myself and my turbo one. I'm not very track experienced at all, so I mean they would very easily beat me. But like an experienced good driver in a turbo car, I still don't think would. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, no. An experienced good driver in a turbo car would probably be almost on par with a race car naturally aspirated, though, with a very good driver. If not, the turbo would be a little bit behind him. Maybe. I don't know. It starts to become a very touchy subject there, because then it starts heavily relying on what kind of racetrack. Is it an autocross track where it's very small corners, very, just first gear darting, or is it more like a full-on racetrack? Is it, for example, at Kyle Army, we've got two racetracks there. There's the small little go-kart track, which they do let you race on. I think they do that at Red Star as well as there's the big actual racetrack. And the big racetrack is more so for more performance. So it starts boiling down to that. I don't know. It ends up going a lot of back and forth. So, yeah. I don't know. I think I'm going to end the episode there. I think I've pretty much gotten across the point that I wanted to. If you guys have anything to comment or correct me on, please do down below. This isn't necessarily a topic that I'm very very informed on. I am interested, sorry. So please let me know down in the comments below, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next episode. If you have any good ideas for topics, please let me know. I'm running low on topics. So yeah. Until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.